So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday night meditation session that is held by the Buddhist Society of Victoria. My name is Ajahn Sādaro. We're streaming from the Buddha Loka Centre at Melbourne East in Melbourne, still under the iron grip of lockdown. Potentially looks like it will continue to go on for a decent amount longer as well. So you can safely do your meditation from the comfort of your own home for the foreseeable future. Hopefully you're snug and warm wherever you are. And welcome to anyone that's sort of tuned in from Melbourne. Also, that anyone that's made the extra effort to tune in from anywhere overseas. Welcome you again. So as I mentioned, we're obviously still in lockdown, so all of the BSV programs are still will be online for the foreseeable future. What do we have coming up? There's a Sunday Dhamma talk next week, which actually I'll be giving. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that, and that will be at 9 Eastern Standard Daylight Time, Eastern Standard Time, Melbourne time. So you're welcome to tune in for that. I'll get started with the meditation session tonight. Just as a quick reminder as well, if you'd like to put in any questions, if you have any burning questions that you've had during the week, any questions that have been simmering in your mind over the past little while, you're more than welcome to type them in the chat. You can do that before we start, or you can do that after we start. For anyone that maybe it is their first time, usually the format is I lead guided meditation. Try to keep it pretty simple because I don't know exactly who's out there listening, but we do that for about anywhere between 40 to 40 minutes to an hour, and then after that I give some answer the questions. So if you do have any of those questions, you're more than welcome to put those down in the chat box that's there, and I'll do my best to answer any and all questions that we get. And the more questions, the better. It helps. It sort of helps me out if I have a few questions there. So, any questions you'd like to ask, any burning questions that you have, make sure you put them in the chat. So, with that, we might get started with the meditation. So, just find a comfortable position. It can be on a chair, or it can be on the floor. You can even stand if you have some kind of physical limitations. And just before you start to do the meditation tonight, just set your mind up to actually really commit to practicing meditation for these next few minutes. Any worries and concerns that you may have, worries about things that happen during the day, or plans that you might have for the coming day, just resolve to put those aside for this period of time. Any kind of notifications that could come and bother you during this time, it's probably a good time to switch the notifications off and really commit to this period that you'll spend trying to improve the quality of your mind. We have many hours during the day where we're working or dealing with other people, interacting with family, or even when we're sleeping, most of the majority of our day is taken up. And so this time that you do get to try to improve the quality of your mind through meditation and practicing Dhamma is very, It's very important, it's very special, it's very precious. So we should make the best effort not to waste that time. And we can start off by bringing our awareness to the feeling of our body sitting here right now. You can notice the different sensations throughout the body. Feeling of the weight of our body against the seat. We may feel our hands overlapped or our legs crossed. The different sensations of maybe our clothes touching our skin, or the feeling of the air and the temperature on your skin. However you feel at this point in time as well, any kind of feeling state or mood that's in the mind, just notice what that is now as well. So in essence, take stock of exactly how you feel in this moment and the sensations coursing throughout the body. Notice that this whole spectrum and field of sensations and feelings, and it's just arising right now, and it changes and passes away. So you can gradually move your attention throughout this sphere of the body and notice the different sensations. You can start at the top of the head, move your awareness down through your body, through your shoulders, through your arms, through your torso, down through your legs to the bottom of your feet and back up again. You can move your attention through the body like you would shine a light over a dark area. Just do this for the next few minutes, really taking stock of what you're experiencing right now in the present and watching it arise and pass away. pay closer attention to the sensations that are coursing throughout your body at this time. Notice the buzzing and the tingling, or maybe even pressure and pain. Try to pay a bit closer attention to it and focus down your awareness down on it closer in more detail. And as an exercise, as you pay attention to these sensations, we typically feel or think that maybe a sensation is buzzing and it's in our foot, and our foot is down there somewhere. But just see as an experiment if you can drop your conceptualization of your body, and that feelings and sensations are located anywhere. Just try to notice them as patterns of sensations that are arising in your awareness. Try to drop this notion that your body has a shape and just notice the sensations for what they are. They are just this kind of morphing and moving energy. And that the only place that they're really located is in this place where you're aware. Just try this as an experiment for the next few moments, and if you can't do this, don't worry about it. Just try to keep focused and aware of the sensations as they arise and pass away throughout your body. can actually use the sensations in the body to really focus and concentrate and calm the mind. You can pay closer and closer attention to these sensations in their minutiae, really refining down and narrowing down the scope of where you pay attention. If you notice this in more detail, the mind can become very calm and very still. Or you can use sensations to be very open and aware. You can feel the entirety of the sensations as one large pulse that pulsates throughout the whole sphere of the body, the whole sphere of awareness. You can just rest within this pulse of sensations, this changing flow. You can experience it all simultaneously. However you decide to pay attention to the sensations, try not to label them or contextualize them as pleasurable or painful or buzzing or tingling. Try to notice them objectively, free from any concepts and labels. Just notice them and look at them as phenomena. It's arising. There are no good or bad sensations. There really is just this pulse and flow. Sensations. They don't talk back to us and say that I'm pleasurable or I'm painful. They just are. Also, take note of how interrelated the sensations you experience throughout the body are with the different kinds of thoughts and moods that arise in the mind. If you're feeling fidgety and your body is moving around, you're twisting and changing positions, it's highly likely that you might be feeling agitated as well, or that the mind might be jumping around. Or conversely, if you're feeling tired and sluggish, your body feeling worn down, your thoughts may also be dull. We can notice how the sensations in our body reflect a lot of the moods and emotions and the thoughts we have in our mind. Say if we're feeling anxious or worried, you might notice sensations in the jaw of tightness or tightness in the shoulders, or tightness around your forehead with your brows furrowing. Or if we feel anger or agitation, we might feel a heat in the chest. Try to sustain this awareness of the sensations throughout the body and how they are related and are intertwined and interconnected with the thoughts and emotions that we experience. final few minutes of the meditation, try to open and expand your awareness to all the sensations in the body and try to experience this whole sphere of sensations simultaneously. Every sensation is within the scope of the body. Try to pay attention to it all. Try to experience it as a unified and holistic mass of swirling energy. Notice this feeling that you're at the center of this ever-changing current and pulse. As the whole entirety, these sensations swirl and change around you. Again, drop all conceptualizations of good or bad sensations. And drop all sense of location that one particular sensation is down below or above your head. And just rest as this ever-changing sphere and current and cloud of sensation. So hopefully you had a fruitful sit. So if anybody does have any questions now, you're more than welcome to put them in the chat. Or anything?
Yes, thank you, Ajahn. There's one question from Maine in the USA at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
From Kim there. The progression of thought, speech and action seems so simple. Any thoughts or guidance would be greatly appreciated.
That's pretty broad. Can you just repeat it for me again? Or maybe, Kim, maybe if you could potentially clarify a little bit? Just repeat the question again, sorry.
So that's an invitation to Kim to add some more details to that. I think we go out about 30 seconds to YouTube after we make the request.
Oh, right.
So it may take a minute for Kim to respond.
Okay.
But so I'm filling in time.
Yeah. Is there another question?
There isn't at this point. No, but I'll repeat the question anyway as a starter. The progression of thought, speech, action seems so simple, which possibly means too simple. Any thoughts or guidance would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I can.
So Kim has responded with
Okay, great. Yep.
more information. I've had trouble stopping the thoughts from popping out of my mouth.
Oh, okay. Yep. I have the same problem sometimes. Yeah, it's so this, obviously this is the natural way that we actually formulate language and interaction with other people, that we maybe have some kinds of thoughts or feelings that arise in the mind, and this is you could say the impetus or the motivation for us to actually to speak, and as a result from the response of our speech, we may act in a particular kind of way or have some kind of response or reaction from another person because of our speech. But that barrier between thoughts and speech, it can be a little bit more pernicious for some than others. Some people have maybe a tendency to just blurt out anything that's sort of on their mind. Other people actually have a tendency to, overanalyze and overthink about what they're going to say before they say it, and it takes them a long time to actually speak up, and maybe they, in some respects, act like a bit of a wallflower because they're, that barrier between thought and speech is, they're a bit more worried about it or anything like that. But so I'm assuming what the question is because if I have these thoughts and then they just sort of like blurt out of my mouth, how do I sort of mitigate that a little bit, or stem the ebb and flow of those kinds of that process? Well, this really is where a factor like mindfulness comes squarely into play, and not only the factor of mindfulness, but also some other factors of the Eightfold Path in right speech as well. We have to have mindfulness over our thoughts and intentions and what we're thinking, and mindfulness there that we there's potentially things that we should say, and there's potentially things there that maybe we should just keep to ourselves. But if our actual speech is very firmly embedded in what we consider right speech, which is things like not lying or gossiping or you're speaking sort of a frivolous kind of speech towards others, then there's not so much of a problem between what sort of comes about in our mind and in our thoughts and then what comes out of our mouth. Because if our speech is is acting according to right speech, then our speech will always be beautiful, and it will always be right for the time and place. But I can 100% understand the sort of the general kind of problem there of like, I sort of have an interaction with somebody that is close to me or whatever, and I just blurt out the thing on my mind, and it sort of shocks them or hurts them or annoys them. So really, a good thing to do is just to, any time that we think we're going to fall prey to that somebody says something or does something that causes some kind of reaction or response to us, is try to gather the mindfulness there, just to take just one breath before you say anything. So if you think, I don't know, my significant other is like he's blamed me for something, instead of just snapping back at him, just try to just take one breath first and just be mindful of that one breath and then speak. This could be the difference between 3 days of argumentation and living harmoniously together. So there's many different kinds of techniques, but that is just one. If you do find you have a problem between thoughts that pop into your mind and then the words that just came out of your mouth, then developing this faculty of mindfulness, just of one or two breaths before you actually answer, is quite a good thing to do.
Thank you, Ajahn. The next question tonight is, how many things do you think you can focus on at once?
Depends on your different kind of abilities. We do have the capacity to take in a lot of information all at once. But how we split up our attention towards those things is different for everybody. Actually, like paying attention to numerous things at the one time is pretty hard and actually sort of pretty impossible. You'll find what you do is, you might think that, say for example, you might think that you're multitasking and you're doing one thing, you're talking to someone, but then you're also playing with your phone, or you're driving a car and all these kinds of things. You might think that you're listening to different conversations and all these kinds of things. We might think we're actually doing all these things simultaneously, and at some sort of like meta level, we are. But what you'll notice when your mindfulness gets very good is that your attention sort of flitters back and forth between these things. And this, when you notice that this is actually happening, you start to realize how tiring this actually is. And actually sort of like a lot of like the research in the scientific literature or the psychological literature sort of suggests that it's like that we might think we're doing something like multitasking, but what we're actually doing is flicking our attention back and forth just continuously. So you're not really ever focused on one thing, and this is actually very draining and very tiring for you to do. So while at some broader level of kind of metacognitive awareness, you are actually, all these things that are happening to you, everything that's coming about in this like space of experience, you can be aware of it from a broader perspective. But what is different is when you start to focus your attention more towards different kinds of things at different times, then you'll sort of find that you can only sort of focus on like one thing at any one particular point in time. It's like, for example, now it's like, you might actually be, I don't know where you are at the moment, but there's sounds in your environment that you're not really paying attention to, but you're aware of them. It's only when you start to stop and listen, and you maybe notice that there's the sound of like an air conditioner, or there's cars outside or something like that, that you notice that those things are there, but at some level you're aware of them. So it's really more about what you're paying attention to in any one specific moment, and everyone has different capacities to do that. So yeah, so you can be generally overall, you can be like metacognitively aware of many things, but your attention to those things flitters and fluctuates back and forth.
That does sound exhausting. Actually.
It is. It's anybody that says they're multitasking and they can do all these kinds of things, it's just you don't believe them. It's like you're not multitasking. You're doing a few different tasks in very quick succession.
Right. Ajahn, that in fact was the last question that
That's
we've
fine.
received.
Yeah, no problem.
So unless something comes in the next few seconds, I think that's the end of tonight's session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, so thank you to everyone that has decided to tune in. Kim, thank you for tuning in from Maine and asking a question. Really do appreciate it. And again, really appreciate everybody coming and sitting with us on this meditation night. We're making the best of the kind of available situation that we have at the moment. One more question, okay?
The person who asked about thinking or focusing on more than one thing at a time is extending their question, I think. Thank you. In the meditation, I couldn't focus on anything more than one thing. I couldn't focus on more than one thing.
Yep.
And it felt like flicking.
Yep.
And ended up focusing back on my breath. ... So there may be a second part coming.
Yep.
So it's specifically in relation to the experience while meditating.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, potentially I'll just sort of run with it, and if there is more to it, we can sort of clarify a little bit more. But potentially what the questioner could be getting at is as well, I was saying things because the focus of that meditation was to just stay with the sensations in the body, and to just, and there are practices where you just become aware of all the sensations as an amorphous single entity. So maybe there was that kind of thing. Well, how do you pay attention to all these different, all the different sensations in the body? And again, this is a faculty that you develop, or a skill that you develop with time, where you can broaden your awareness out to take in more of, or to be aware of more of the things that that are in your like sphere of awareness. Don't worry if you're doing these kinds of practices and you're maybe doing some of the things that I'm saying, and it's like, well, I don't really get this, and I just naturally I tend to just gravitate back towards the breath, or I can only sort of focus my attention on particular points in the body where sensations are at that time. That's totally fine. That's totally normal. If you find that's what works for you, then that's fine. I just sort of offer the instructions as a guideline, as a different kind of practice to do. But maybe it could speak to something else where it's like you are potentially thinking, okay, well, this meditation I'm trying to look at the sensations, or I'm trying to observe the sensations, but you just naturally come back to watching the breath or something like that. And that's, in a way, actually, that could be a very good sign that you've developed a good habit of just watching the breath while you're practicing meditation, and this becomes like a habitual sort of rhythm that you fall into when you sit down to meditate. This is actually quite a good thing. Is like this indicates that you're training your mind well, and it is just coming back to the object that it's usually meant to be doing at this time when you're practicing meditation. But maybe I'm throwing you off and interrupting you by giving you all these sort of random and strange bits of advice, and so yeah, don't worry about it too much. If you've, and there's also times where maybe it just feels like, maybe the mind just feels like it wants to settle on one thing sometimes, and so you have to be a little bit more intuitive in these instances. You might think, well, tonight I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do, say, for example, like metta meditation, but the mind just feels like, no, I just want to settle on this one thing, and I just want to settle on the breath. I don't want to sort of jump around and investigate the nature of consciousness and phenomena and do metta and all these kinds of things. I just want to settle and rest on the breath, and that's fine. You follow that kind of intuition that you might have. So don't worry if you sort of you flip to one and you flip to the other kind of thing due to the sort of the impact of the environment that's around you. If you're sort of focusing on the breath and you're feeling like you're relaxing on the breath, and that's fine, then you can just keep on that. And so hopefully that covered all bases of what that question could have been. Yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn. There are no more questions.
Okay, cool. So, well, once again, a double thank you tonight. Thank you to all the people that have tuned in from all over the globe. Once again, really appreciate it. It's nice to see that we're doing the best in the kind of situation that we're in at the moment, having to do these things online. So again, there'll be a talk on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll be giving that talk, so you're more than welcome to tune into that talk. And if you have any questions during the week, and you can think of any questions during the week, you're more than welcome to ask them again on Sunday. But for that, I'll wish you all the best in your meditation and your Dhamma practice for the week, and may you progress in the Dhamma.